Brian, you're nuts. Anyway, guys, the live stream, it started, I think. Laura will check. It should have started.
Your sister's in the background.
Yeah, Laura's in the background. So we're going to talk about 9/11, guys. Why I'm saying that when no one's here, but there you go. Yet. No one's here yet. So, oh, look, SA Punk's here, Mr. Jizz. We got Brian on the line as well.
Cheerio, mates. Cheerio. Good to hear from you. What are you doing now, Mr. Punk? Mr. Jizz, SA Punk.
He says, sup, Brian. Sup, Brian, he said. Sup.
Well, Mark, would you like to get started on, your... Oh, there's Laura. Laura's in the background. I see you, yeah. The real star of the show.
Hey, what do you mean the real star of this show?
Mark on, you're just a background character. We all know Laura is the true star. And your father.
So, ignore this idiot. Right, ignore this idiot. Right. So, what we're going to do, guys, we're going to have an open discussion. You guys in the chat can SA Punk's laughing. Mr. Jizz, as we still call him. So, we're going to have an open discussion about 9/11. And basically, we're going to pick mostly Brian's brains, if he's got one.
I have a brain. A very big one. Bigger than your penal size, Mr. Corn.
So Jack's here. Jack's
hey, what's up, Jack? All right, I'll get out of my Icarus voice. This is my regular voice. I do have an actual regular voice.
Yeah, he doesn't talk like Mario all the time. Don't worry about it.
No, man, that's all for funny games.
So
got a regular voice just like you guys.
Well, kind of.
Hey, fucker, I'm Mexican and I speak proficient English. Isn't that enough?
Aaron's here as well. Aaron's here. Yeah, and Jack. Jack, yes, it is. It is Brian.
He sounded like a posh aristocrat.
So what?
Pretty educated guy, not your average Mexican that talks like this. Oh, I talk regular, fools.
So which way are we going to start this? Like, are we going to start with the pre-background that they knew that 9/11 was going to happen, or what?
Yeah, that's something that a lot of people that don't know. 2 years before September 11th, that they knew about this stuff. Our government knew.
Yeah.
The Bush administration. Do you want me to start?
Yeah. Well, we're going to start with. We're going to start with that, and then because actually going into that kind of little segue there, there was people that said that they knew about 9/11 6 months before.
2 years before, probably longer than that. I mean, you got to realize Osama bin Laden, the supposed mastermind, had been on our radar for over a decade. Again, most people, they do know that the World Trade Center was bombed once. That the building didn't collapse. Terrorists set off bombs in the basement. Their plan was to try to cripple the building. It didn't work there. But in 1999, an independent group in CIA actually stumbled on communications that Osama bin Laden, Al-Qaeda, that they were planning on using, commercial jetliners to slam them into different, not just New York, different American cities as far back as then. So when the Bush administration in 2001, after September 11th, said that, hey, look, we never could fathom the idea that terrorists would take over planes and slam them into buildings, they were lying to us. Yeah. It's a flat-out lie. There's an operation, actually, a lot of the information I've got and that I've learned have been from different places, different sites. I've read the 9/11 Commission, the whole entire freaking book, front to back. That's a bunch of hogwash. Don't waste your time. I mean, if you want to know about 9/11, they have one page on why the buildings collapsed and over 2,000 pages of just rubbish.
Well,
it doesn't have anything to do with September 11th. It's to me, a big waste of time. You're better off just finding that page and reading it. But there is an operation that they were doing. It's called Able Danger.
Right.
Able Danger was the United States government, NORAD, governments around the world simulating a terrorist attack using commercial jets.
Yeah, so
they're saying that, we didn't know, but you were running operations 2 years before and year before.
Yeah, so
but the exact same thing that happened on September 11th.
Right. You can read the comments as well, can't you?
Yes, I can read the comments. I'm not in them right now. I put the phone down, but hold on a second. Let me go back into my phone. I'm on my phone.
So, SA Punk says it could have been anyone. Terrorists, the government, some renegades, or a secret society. Could have been anything. Livingston.
In a nutshell, yeah. I mean, do you want my honest opinion?
Yeah.
If Yuki said Trump caused 9/11. This is where I think there's a big misconception. A lot of people think that it's centered around George Bush.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think that he's a lop. I don't think he has the mental or mind power to pull something off like that. I think Dick Cheney, the vice president, had more motive.
Right, yeah.
There's actually eyewitness accounts. We were talking about this, Mark, before, and I'll get into Norm Mineta in a second, the head of the TSA and the NTSB, National Transportation Safety Board. I said TSA, it's NTSB. Long story short, I think that George Bush wasn't privy to 99% of the information. I think they sent him off to Florida to that school to get him out of the way, knowing that there'd be a distraction.
Yeah, that's
or he
right.
would be out of his league. In effect, when he was in Florida, Dick Cheney, even though, George Bush is alive, he's effectively the president because he's the highest ranking official in Washington. Norm Mineta, who was the head of the NTSB at the time, is on record on interview on C-SPAN saying that he was in the bunker with Dick Cheney and generals were coming in as the second plane was coming towards. It was either the second plane, I'm not exactly sure. It was one of the planes, though. Second plane or the one that hit the Pentagon. They were giving him updates.
Wasn't that
the distance?
Wasn't the Pentagon? That was the third plane because they.
Yeah, it was Tower 2, then Tower 1, and North Tower first, South Tower second, and then the Pentagon third.
Right. Yeah.
But he had generals in the room telling him 50 miles away, 40 miles away, 30 miles away, updating him on the distance. Mind you, there's no fighter jets scrambled at this time trying to stop, and I'm going to tell you why in a minute. It's a coincidence. I'll tell you in a minute.
Yeah.
To shoot down that plane. When the plane got 5 miles out, a general says that the plan still stand. And Cheney told him, why would it be any different? What plan are they talking about? Norm Mineta, the head of the NTSB that's in the bunker with the vice president, it's a credible source. This isn't some Yahoo with a conspiracy theory. This is a government official that's in the room with this guy, hearing all the dirt that these guys are doing. Now, most people don't know this. On 9/11, guess what they were doing? They were running terrorism drills. They sent jets that were 5 to 15 miles from the Pentagon over 200 miles away to South Carolina on training missions. They sent 2 to 3 days before all the fighter jets up to Canada to do a research mission on Russian MiGs that were flying near Canada. I just don't. To me, that's not a coincidence. This is people that set this up, that knew what they're doing, that had a calculated plan for reasons that, to me, what pisses me off. I didn't say this in the beginning, but I'm going to say it now.
Yeah, go on.
Because I don't want to offend anybody. And I've had people that are close to me that have had friends that died in New York, friends or family that have died in Iraq and Afghanistan, and they get mad when I question the authenticity of what our government tells us.
Right, yeah.
And it's not to offend anybody. I think we all have a right to our opinion, but I've been studying this hardcore since 2011. I saw a documentary called Loose Change.
Yeah.
And I was under the belief that the way we were told was the way it was. And when I saw this documentary, it just blew my damn brain up. I'm like, whoa, man, there's so much evidence to contradict. Overwhelmingly, it's not even close. It's 99 to 1%. I can tell you this for a fact. There's no way in hell that what our government is telling us is exactly the way it happened.
Yeah, sometimes
I tell you that.
Sometimes they could try and hide the truth, but SA Punk has just put. Have you guys heard of the falling man? The falling man?
Yeah, the gentleman that fell out of the building. That they still haven't. The picture of a guy that actually fell out of one of the towers, out of the top, the restaurant on top of one of the towers.
Right. Yeah.
And they were trying to find out who he was. Yeah, I've heard the story.
Yeah,
I've heard that story as well. Why do I keep getting kicked out of the chat every time?
I don't know.
Hold on a second, brother. Let me change my settings so I don't get kicked out of out of YouTube. I got to keep my screen on. My screen times out, and then it closes me out. So now I got to go back to your stream again.
Well, that's all right, because I
can look at the comments.
Well, if that happens, I can read them off anyway. It's no problem.
Yeah, it's always good to have them in front of my face.
Yeah, but going back to
so I can see them.
Yeah, have you got it?
Yeah, I got it. I'm open. Yeah. That's open now.
So going back to the jet situation, because if you, oh my god, I've just been attacked by a fly. Oh, so going back to that situation where in the morning they basically, was it the fighter jets? They didn't even know anything about it. Apparently on the ground, they didn't know anything about it. But whether that's true or not, on purpose, you reckon?
Yeah, I think the American government told those planes to stand down on purpose. It's obvious they have protocol for that. A fighter jet, if a passenger jet like a 747 is off course within 10 minutes, it's rules and regulation. A fighter jet has to accompany that jet. Best example I can give is the golfer Payne Stewart. Do you guys remember that? That he died in his plane, that the plane had depressurization?
Yeah.
And within minutes, they had fighter jets next to that plane until that plane actually crashed. So why wouldn't you do that, especially with the Pentagon? 2 planes that already hit buildings. Well, you're going to sit here and tell me that that a fighter jet couldn't have been scrambled an hour plus later to stop that plane that's not only close to the Pentagon, they thought it was going for the White House.
Yeah, because it did seem weird that by the time the planes had hit the buildings, they were at least 100 odd miles away.
Yeah.
So it does seem weird that, that they couldn't get someone there quick enough.
It's not even weird. It's purposely done. We have all the technology in the world with radar. They knew what was happening. They allowed, worst case scenario, our government allowed it. I mean, best case scenario, I'm sorry, is they allowed it to happen.
Yeah, they allowed it.
They knew it was going to happen. And you can go from there, and you can say it was for oil. I mean, fucking Dick Cheney made millions and millions of dollars with his stake in Halliburton, his stock earnings, and everything else. So all these guys had motivations to do it, mostly financial.
Well,
to be that honest with you.
Yeah, SA Punk says it was probably a setup, and I kind of had a story. I think I put this in my video that there was a sideline. I can't remember what the bloke's name, but he owns the lease to the towers. And
it was like Goldstein or something like that.
And he signed an insurance policy 2 months prior to the attacks, and there was a special clause. Now, whether this is coincidental, I don't know, but it said in the case of a terrorist attack, there was a special clause that they specifically wrote into the contracts. If they were hit, I think he got something like 3.2 billion or something each.
Yeah, got a lot of money off those buildings collapsing.
So it does seem weird in contrary that that he signed insurance documents 2 months prior and to it happening. So whether he knew or not, that's another discussion entirely.
Another coincidence. It's a coincidence.
Yeah, coincidence. Certainly is.
A little bit more background information, just like example with the Bushes. A lot of people don't know this, that the Bush administration, but even the Bushes before, Baby Bush, George W. became president, his father was in bed with the Saudis. Most of the investors that he had for his businesses were Saudi investors, and they were friends with the Bin Laden family.
Right,
Most people don't know that the Bin Ladens are rich oil tycoons in Saudi Arabia. George Bush Sr., Baby Bush's dad, used to stay with the Bin Laden family in Saudi Arabia. So on 9/11, the biggest attack on soil since Pearl Harbor, you have 3,000 people murdered, 3 buildings collapsed. Yeah, there's a third building that people don't talk about. That's Building 7 that a plane never hit. It collapsed that day too. And the family of the suspected murderer is flown by presidential escort back to Saudi Arabia. George W. Bush and the Bin Laden family to Saudi Arabia. When does that happen? If you have a murder investigation, the last thing you're going to do is let the murderer's family fly out of the country. The FBI, the CIA, they never had the chance to even interview this guy. Any expert that's in criminal justice, that is an inexcusable mistake.
Well, there was another thing as well. You know, the morning of 9/11, there was somebody who always went to the towers every morning without fail.
Yeah,
and then,
exactly what you're talking about.
I can't remember what the bloke's name is, but he went there every single day for breakfast, and the timing would have been that he would have been there, but something came up that he just didn't go, supposedly.
And he was the owner. It was like Stanley Morgan Chase, the CEO or something of the president. Yeah, and his family worked in the building too, if I'm correct. And I don't think his family went that day either. And like 80% of the workers ended up dying that day. That 80 or 90%, almost everybody that worked for that company died that day because they were up higher up on the towers when the buildings collapsed. But he didn't go that day.
I mean,
another instance. To add to that, Condoleezza Rice, the night before 9/11, Willie Brown, the mayor of San Francisco, was supposed to fly to Washington, D.C. for something. She called him up the day before. This is on record, not hearsay. It's on record coming out of Willie Brown's mouth. She called him and told him not to get on the plane.
Yeah, well,
something was going to happen the next day, and that he shouldn't be in Washington.
Well, did you know we spoke about this earlier? SA Punk's just come up with this.
Yeah.
Did you know this?
Family Guy.
Yeah, we spoke about that. We said about Seth MacFarlane and how he did. God, we were speaking about that. He changed his mind.
Man. How he being lazy? Some people say he shouldn't be lazy. The bullshit lie, man. His laziness saved his life. Him not getting up on time and getting on the plane saved his life. He wouldn't have Stewie and all these great characters running around him.
Squiggly line. I had to do it. I had to do it. Squiggly line in my eye. Oh, sorry. I know we're trying to be serious, but I had to stick that in there. You can't do something like that and not expect it to happen.
No, not at all, man. More background information just on the terrorists themselves. I was telling you this before we jumped on.
Yeah.
Stuff that I had forgotten. I had rewatched some of the documentary last night that some of the terrorists are still alive. Some of the guys they said on the plane are actually still alive and breathing.
Yeah.
They're confirmed alive.
Hold on. Steve Vlogs is here. What have I missed? Well, we're doing a live discussion of 9/11. You've missed some iterations, I was just about to say, of how they knew about 9/11 2 years prior to it happening, even 6 months before.
Operation Able Danger.
Yeah. So you've missed, a lot.
Yeah, we're talking about the terrorists now in general. Background on the terrorists. That the terrorists that were here, especially Muhammad Atta, out of like the 14 or 15 hijackers, 7 of them were in some way, shape, or form in our military, trained by us, living here under our roof. 3 of them, Muhammad Atta and 2 of the other guys, were living with a CIA operative. Which to me is just crazy. How do I know about these guys when they're living with a CIA operative? That guy must be terrible at his job.
So, hold on. Did I just hear you correctly? Because I was just sidelined then for a second. You said that some of the terrorists are still alive.
They're still alive. I don't know the exact names. Go watch Loose Change, the 3rd edition.
Right.
They've been confirmed to be alive. They had their passports stolen. Speaking of passports, on 9/11, those planes hit the buildings. They collapsed. Everything was pulverized into a fine dust.
Yeah.
That right there tells you something's not right. If something collapses, even with the pancake theory, you're going to find tons of parts of that building. All you found was dust, no body parts, no bones. I think the biggest thing that they found from the buildings was a keypad on a touch-style phone. That's the biggest thing that they found. Yeah, 2 miles away, before these planes hit, somehow they found terrorist passports, intact business cards, passport photos. So you're telling me a plane descending from 30,000 feet, going towards a building at hundreds of miles an hour, 100 miles over hundreds of, I don't know, really fast. That's what I'm trying to get at. Going really fast towards these buildings, jet fuel exploding, these planes incinerating, yet you find full passports of these guys on the ground. They've had people that have defected from the CIA and the FBI that said whoever left, the evidence left it delivered. There's no way it came from these guys' planes. It's bullshit.
Okay.
To me, that doesn't make a lick of sense. How how you couldn't find a person's fingernail, yet you were able to find these terrorist passports.
Yeah, 2 miles down, 2 miles.
2 miles away. Up until a couple of years ago, they found a bone from somebody, or bone fragments from somebody over a mile away on the top of a building.
Yeah.
And only architects, physicists, and scientists have said the only way that could have happened is if there was explosives in the building shooting, projecting stuff out.
Well,
that couldn't happen from a pancake.
Well, we'll get to that because there's the explosion theory, and there's actually a lot of proof concerning around that. But S.A. Punk has just said, it's strange that the 9/11 event was mentioned in popular culture years before 2001, like one of the Simpsons episodes and the front cover of Michael Jackson's 3rd album of the 9/11 event. Strange. So it is kind of, because that brings into mind the Illuminati. Do you know what I'm saying? It brings into mind
it's highly possible somebody was trying to leak. They knew, and they were trying to warn us through that. So, hey, take a look, without saying it right out.
Well, it brings the question that, are forces above us in control of what happens in the world? We obviously know. We obviously know that there's some sort of control in certain governments, that are controlling the world. So, in a way, it brings the question: is the Illuminati real? It brings the question there.
There's something. I mean, what exactly it is, we'll probably never know because we're not rich enough to be privy to that information.
Yeah.
From what I have read and heard, the group is called the Bilderbergs.
Right.
They're like the 200 richest people on this earth. They have a convention every year, and they kind of set out the world order the way that they want things. Every incoming president has to meet with them. I was telling you, Mark, a while back about President Obama being taken off plane. He was doing sort of campaign thing before he was elected president, like 2 weeks before.
Yeah.
During an interview, they ripped him out of a plane, stuck him with a limo, and the guy that he jumped in a limo with was someone that's associated with that group or organization. I don't know much about them. I haven't honestly seen much about them, but I think there definitely is. There's some correlation there.
On a sideline kind of topic, going back through like the Apex TV stuff. This is sideline because it could be related, because they say that that the governments could be talking to aliens. It's the same kind of thing, isn't it? High above. You never know what's going on. That's what I'm saying. You never know.
There's stories like that from a long time ago, man. President Eisenhower meeting with the aliens back in the day with the Greys. And people have said, eyewitnesses have said that we've met with aliens before, so I wouldn't doubt
that. Steve says it's all very interesting. S.A. Punk says Michael Jackson was warning us.
That's what he meant by gotta beat that. Gotta beat that.
You holding your nuts while doing
you're ignorant. You're ignorant. I wasn't trying to warn you guys. I just wanted to dance and play.
Oh man! Oh, I've got itchy arm now.
It's just a lot of. To me, it's just a lot of coincidence, man. All these coincidences on one day. I was telling you about the Saudi ISI chief that was in Washington on September 10th. That they found a money trail that he was funding Muhammad Atta. He spent $100,000 on September 10th, the day before 9/11, and he's in Washington on September 11th, meeting with the Bush administration.
Yeah.
The Saudi ISI chief, that's like the highest military ranking guy, is sending money to the terrorists that are jumping the planes and bomb the World Trade Center. I mean, come on, man. The information that it's overwhelming, in my opinion, that there was cover-up. People knew. They knew it was going to happen years before. This took years of preparation, timing, planning. It was kept from a lot of people's eyes. Again, I don't even think George Bush was privy to the information. I think Dick Cheney was the only high up that had all the information and knew what was going on because he's a dirtbag. But yeah,
I mean, they could have like got him out of the way. There could have been people, say, underneath George Bush, because there's obviously not anybody higher than him in a way, is there?
Yeah.
So there was probably people under him.
Oh, definitely.
That knew, say FBI people or the CIA. It could have been.
Yeah, high-ranking officials, probably the few that could be trusted, knew. I think the majority, to keep a secret like that, though, you can't let that out to too many people. And again, it goes back to, you got to follow the money, man. Where does the money go? Who benefited most from 9/11? The owner of the buildings in the World Trade Center. The Bush family going to war in Afghanistan and Iraq. Going to Iraq, saying they have weapons of mass destruction when that was a lie. The Patriot Act, which allowed the United States government to legally, which was illegal before, but to legally listen into all phone and correspondence.
Yeah.
Dick Cheney, Halliburton, the money that he gained from it. All of these people,
financially,
it all comes down to money.
There was a lot of people that gained out of 9/11. Despite it being a mass tragedy, a lot of people gained from a tragedy.
Yeah.
And it's mainly financially.
Yeah, that's what kind of irks me, man. You know what really irks me? Like, what gets me pissed off about it more than anything else is these assholes knew it, and they let those firefighters and those police officers go into those buildings knowing that they're going to die. You're allowing people to die to benefit your own pocket. And to me, that's immoral. It's disgusting. And these are the people that you're supposed to trust. Those are the people you put in office that are supposed to take care of you.
Yeah, that
are supposed to fight for you.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, history repeats itself, man. It's happening again. You open your eyes. Look at Donald Trump.
Well, they say serve and protect, don't they? They say serve and protect, but
no, it's protect the wallet, brother. Protect the wallet.
I think most countries are, fueled by money, and I think that's why people do the things they do. They knew how much they'd get insurance-wise for them towers. They knew how much. I mean, when we get onto it, there's been some proof that, of the controlled explosion thing, and obviously, Brian, you've got, facts about that, and
we'll get into that. Okay, so these buildings collapsed because of jet fuel melting steel. There's over 500 architects, scientists, physicists that have come together. It's actually a group now where they're putting their own money and their own information to reopen the 9/11 investigation. That these guys aren't me, Joe Blow off the street. They are experts. They're experts in controlled demolition. They're experts on building buildings. And they've all unanimously said there had to have been controlled demolition for those buildings to fall in 10 seconds. They fell at what's called free fall speed, which means there's no resistance. The only way that there could be no resistance is if the floors below the top floors were blown out with explosives. A lot of people don't know this. That the day after 9/11, the United States started putting all of the steel, concrete, whatever was left on ships, and they sent it to China to be destroyed. Let me ask you guys a question, and if you've ever heard of this before, then let me know in the chat. When was the last time in a murder investigation did the authorities put all the evidence in an incinerator and burn the shit without the proper authorities being able to investigate it? The CIA, the FBI, the NTSB, no one was ever able to really investigate the crime scene.
Right.
They destroyed all the shit.
Yeah, Brian.
And on top of that,
Brian, hold on.
First responders.
Re-say what you did at the start, because they kind of jumped, so I don't think everybody got what you were saying.
It jumped?
Yeah, it jumped, yeah.
Okay, I mean, in a nutshell, the buildings fell at free fall speed, which is in 10 seconds, which is impossible. The only way that could have happened is with controlled demolition. There's a group of the top 500 scientists, architects that have come together and opened the investigation, because there's no way it's possible. Jet fuel, it never reached the temperature where it could create a massive building failure like that. There was a building in Spain that burned for 24 hours, and guess what, Mark?
It never fell. I know the one you're talking about. I know
from top to bottom.
I know the one you're talking about.
Top to bottom.
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about. The one in
it collapsed. Yeah, Madrid.
See,
shoot, you guys just had a fire recently. Grenfell Tower.
Yeah, Grenfell Tower. That was. I know. Well, it's actually not different kind of fire. I guess it would be the same, but I mean that burned for hours. It never fell. It's still standing now. Even now, it's still standing in Grenfell. It's still standing.
Yeah. So my point in case is that these buildings didn't collapse, but on that day, 2 buildings, the third building collapsed too. A lot of people don't know Building 7.
Yeah,
there's a third building that collapsed that a plane never hit.
Yeah, and they said
it fell because of office fires. Bullshit. You go back and look at the video. There was like 1 story, 2 stories burning, and it wasn't out of control burning. Also, they said that to add on to the jet fuel theory being alive, there's a woman that they have a picture of that was alive.
Yeah.
When that plane hit, she was a little bit below it. If that jet fuel is burning hot enough to burn steel, don't you think it would burn through people?
Oh yeah, obviously.
Right under the fire.
Yeah, obviously.
So there were people still alive in that building right under that. So at the end of the day, this theory that jet fuel melted this steel frame to the point of a total collapse on 3 buildings, not 1, not 2, but all 3 of these buildings, it's a lie and a fabrication. Anybody that is in that field has discounted that. Also, I was telling you that some of the first responders that were there, there was a firefighter, I forget his name, you can go look it up on that documentary, Looks Change. He actually grabbed some of the rubble illegally and stuck it in his pocket and gave it to scientists. Guess what they found in the rubble?
What's that?
Thermite. Thermite is the number 1 component in explosives that can cut through steel like butter. So if there weren't explosives being used, why is thermite in the rubble? Why is thermite in the rubble from the buildings that fucking collapsed?
So hold on. So we got Chris is here, Lucas is here, guys. If we're just gonna give you a bit of an update. We're talking about 9/11 here. It's an open discussion. You guys can talk in the chat. We will read your comments at the same time. Once Brian stops yapping, that is.
Sorry,
but
that's what I do best. I yap.
He's very passionate about this, and obviously so am I, because obviously I did a video about it. But he has a history degree. He does a lot of research, and a lot of videos that have come onto the channel is because of Brian's ideas and input. So no, well, it may be me seeing behind the camera, but a lot of help has been given from you. George Michael's here, the Saskis, the one from, I think he's from Greece, is here. We just call him George Michael. But yeah, like I say, we're talking about 9/11. We've just got up to the point about where were we, Brian? We were talking about the
building collapse.
The building collapse.
Okay. There's one other thing before I forget I wanted to add on to that when the building collapsed, it collapsed, all three of them collapsed in their own imprint, the same way a building would collapse. For example, if you guys know Las Vegas buildings, when they were demolishing the casinos, the way they fall in their own imprint.
Yeah.
I stated earlier that everything was pulverized into a fine dust, but underneath the rubble, temperatures were at volcanic lava levels, which is impossible. There's no way you could have heat that hot underground unless explosives were used, because thermate, what it does, it turns steel into like molten lava. They actually had to wait. That's why they had to spray water on the rubble for like 2-3 weeks after to cool it off, because it had turned into lava.
Yeah. Hold on a sec. Lucas, this is the famous...
Mexicans were educated too. We don't just talk about tacos all day.
This is the famous... You guys don't recognize his voice, but this is Brian. We're just being more serious today with what we're doing. And I do apologize, guys, but you know, we do want to hit on different subjects. Julian Fonculio.
Oh, I'm still here, man. I don't know what you're talking about, man. Woohoo! I'm in here to do it, fuckers. Mexicans, we're educated fuckers. We don't just talk about the tacos. We talk about everything. Woohoo!
So, yeah. Get off topic, but Lucas, it's going to go back to fun times soon. We've got 24-hour live stream tomorrow, starting from probably about 5 p.m. UK time. He says, "Yay, Mario's back," and the Mario's Italian, but Droopy Stool. Droopy Stool?
Yeah, Droopy ain't no poop Livingston. Ain't no damn stool, buddy, like my beanbag.
Brian's a man with many voices and personalities. Oh, don't I know it? So Steve's here.
Okay, Flight 97. That's the one that crashed in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, right, Steve?
I think so. Yeah, I think
that's the one I'm talking about. I honestly get the numbers mixed up, but if that's the one, let me know in the chat. Because I can. Oh, okay. All right. I was talking to Mark about that before we jumped on. That I have my doubts that a lot. Again, this pisses some people off because I'm like, how could you be disrespectful to the families of the people that died on the plane? But if I have a doubt, I'm going to say it.
Yeah.
I'll take the criticism. It is what it is. But first thing that draws me off about these planes and the people's stories from inside the planes, you go back, even before this, if you want to do a false flag operation, in other words, why was 9/11 perpetrated? It was for financial reasons, but for us to be able to go over to the Middle East and procure oil like we wanted to, you have to have an emotional attachment.
Yeah.
9/11 was the emotional attachment that opened the door for war in Iraq and Afghanistan. Without that emotional attachment, we're not going to be able to go to war. So you have to have people and stories that people can relate to build up that anger and animosity, to have them want to not only support the war, but you got to have bodies. You got to have people that want to join the military.
Yeah.
So, anyways, a lot of these phone calls that you're hearing about, the people on the planes that called, they were calling at 30,000 feet. Back in 2001, it's been proven it's 100%. United Airlines even came out with a statement saying that they don't know how it happened, but those phone calls couldn't have happened from those planes from 30,000 feet. Yeah. You couldn't make a phone call from that high up from a cellular phone back in 2001. It was a 99.9% improbability that you could have made that phone call.
Yeah,
I was telling Mark that one guy that really just, to me, it just sounds ingenuine. It doesn't sound real. Go look at the phone call from Mark Bingham. He's one of the guys that was on Flight 97. He called his mother, and in the message he says, okay, when I call my mom, I don't state my first and last name. She knows my number. I go, hey, Mom, how are you doing? Oh, hey, son, how are you doing? Back in 2001, we had caller ID.
Yeah.
She probably, I don't know if it was to a cell phone or a house phone, but the dude stated his name. Hey, Mom, this is Mark Bingham calling to let you know I'm in a plane and we've been hijacked.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, a lot of the phone calls, they sound awkward. people don't sound. I mean, I'd be in a fucking panic. I'm a grown man. I'm 32 years old. If someone hijacked a fucking plane,
you'd be shitting your pants.
I'm not calling my mom like, "Hey, how you doing?"
Yeah. Hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? We're
just shooting the breeze here, about to fucking implode in a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania.
We're just about to crash.
Another day in the neighborhood.
We're just about to crash.
I have my doubts to the authenticity. I'm not saying that people don't exist. Yeah. I'm not saying that they didn't die. I'm just saying the phone calls to me, there's something odd there. I just don't buy it. I don't buy a lot of what we're being told. And why even put these people's last words out there, you know? To me, it's like, let these people rest in peace if they did die. How are you doing, Allah Akbar? Oh, shit.
but going back to that point, though, like you were saying, the phone calls and that, like you say, I would be the same. I wouldn't be sitting there going, hey, you know, la-da-da-da-da. Oh, yeah, just shooting the breeze, you know. Just about to die, but you know what else can I do?
Right.
Yeah. You know,
the one chick that one of the flight attendants that was on one of the planes that hit the World Trade Center, one of the World Trade Centers. They have her last words. She's like, "Oh wow, I see the building. Oh wow." Like I again. Well, even off of that, back to Flight 97. You got to look at the visual evidence that we've been shown. Where are the plane parts, man?
Yeah.
Where's the trail? Where are the parts to the plane? All we see is a massive crater in the ground. You don't see any plane parts. The same thing with the Pentagon. You don't see any plane parts. I'll get to the Pentagon in a second about how they already fucked up with that. You don't see any of the planes, no bodies. I'm not trying to be morbid, but no blood, no clothing, no suitcases. I mean, nothing. There's no physical evidence that you can see with your own eyes that makes you go, "Oh, a plane crashed here." The Pentagon, they fucked up. After whatever hit there, again, to me, I don't think it was a 747 jet. If you look at the mathematics of the holes in the wall, the distance, there's no way a plane that size hit that. The holes were too small. They left a plane engine on the lawn. Yeah. They have aviation experts that have seen the pictures of the engine, and they unanimously agree that it's not a Rolls-Royce engine. The Rolls-Royce makes all the engines for 747s. It's the same fucking engine. And that engine doesn't belong to a 747. And you can look that up online. Droopy want my cheekbone bone.
I was just about to say that. I was just about to say that Livingston just put it in the chat about Droopy, and I was like, Lucas did put a comment before about, can you do, I know this is off topic, I guess, you know, people aren't trailing along, but
Donald Duck, I can try. Nah, I don't really do Donald Duck.
But
sorry, brother.
Yeah, but
it's not in the itinerary.
But going back on topic, now, the aftermath of 9/11. Now, some people say there wasn't planes that hit it. It was obviously explosions, and it was some type of illusion, as such. What would you call it? I'm trying to think of the word, but they basically said no planes hit it. They were just explosions. But then it doesn't. If that theory is correct, okay, if that theory is correct, that it was just an illusion. That's it. That's the word I was looking for. Then why was there plane parts scattered blocks and blocks away from the building? I don't know.
Okay, I have an explanation for everything you just said. This is where me and Mark disagree a little bit. I have my doubts that passenger jets were used. I have doubts that there were terrorists on that plane. I mean, to me, in general, 14 guys with box cutters taking over aircrafts, not just once, but 3 times, and actually, take that back 4 times.
Yeah,
because of Shanksville, 4 times in one day. God, the mathematical probabilities have to be pretty low there. I mean,
it's either that or it's either that.
Coming at me with a box cutter. I'm short. I'm not the biggest dude in the world, but I'm gonna jump on that fucker and try to stop him if he's trying to crash a plane.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it's either
that.
Works me the wrong way.
It's either that or if it was true, right? It's either that or America just got very unlucky that day, and that's
yeah, right. It's just I look at the probability. It's never happened before. Not one building has ever collapsed in a day because of a fire, or even they made those buildings, Mark, to withstand Category 5 hurricanes.
Yeah,
multiple planes hitting those buildings. Those buildings were rock fucking solid. Those buildings, we would die off, and 500 years from now, they would still be standing.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, the metal frame would still be standing. So, anyways, back to your theory on the planes. They could you get them realizing that mass chaos. It's really easy to have somebody with a big van, a big truck, to drop shit off, which is what I think they did. I think they did that with the Pentagon.
Yeah.
In the chaos, people aren't looking at that shit. The plane hits a building, people aren't going, okay, where the fuck is the rubble? People aren't driving around looking for it.
Yeah.
They're in panic mode. They're not paying attention like you normally would. You can get away with shit like that. And going back to the Pentagon, they've released out of 85 or 90 fucking security cameras, they've released 3 videos. None of them show a plane hitting the building. If you want to prove your point that there was no cover-up, why not show the other 85 fucking videos that you have of the plane hitting the Pentagon? On 9/11, when that plane hit the Pentagon, you know what side it hit? A side that was under construction. That was being reinforced. The only part of that building that was being reinforced. They only had 125 people on that side of the building on 9/11. Had it been a regular day, there had been over 2,000 people on that wing. Yeah. Because it was under construction, it was the only side of the building that was being military-proof for a plane or something or an explosion hitting it. That saved lives. And on another note, guess where Donald Rumsfeld was that day?
Where's that?
On the opposite side of the building. So if you're going to fucking... back to these pilots too, man. It just popped into my head. These terrorists that were pilots. Do you know the pilot schools they went to? All of them unanimously said they were terrible pilots. They couldn't fly a two-seater little airplane on a routine training flight.
Yeah, and I'm sure
there's no way in hell these guys were able to hit those buildings and hit the Pentagon with the precision that they hit those buildings. They said that an experienced pilot, more than likely, the best pilot on this earth, would more than likely not be able to hit the Pentagon without hitting the ground, without hitting the freeway, without crashing that plane before they hit those buildings. These guys were not skilled pilots.
So, hold on. So, I need to read some comments. S.A. Punk, rest in peace, everyone who was lost their lives during 9/11. And I do I do agree with that, you know, with everybody who did lose their lives in 9/11. We're not mocking that. We're just having an open discussion. So
that's the reason for the conversation, for those people.
Yeah. So
they should be told the truth.
So Livingston has put, I mean, I understand the funk full load of shit. No, whatever. I couldn't even didn't get that comment. Lucas says, how long till fun time? He means basically when we mess about. I don't think we're going to do that until afterwards. Lucas also said, new Seth MacFarlane was supposed to get on one of the plane. Yeah, we discussed that.
Oh, yeah, Kevin Cosgrove. That's the gentleman, Jiz, that he was in one of the buildings, wasn't he? Didn't he make calls from inside the buildings? Am I right? Tell me who he is.
Yeah,
Rejog my memory.
I think he was.
There was more than one person in the building that was calling in.
Yeah,
they said they heard explosions, from what I remember. If I remember right,
a few hundred calls. Yeah, a few hundred calls were saying, "Oh, we've heard explosions. We've heard explosions." Oh,
firefighters, the security guard.
Yeah.
For one of the World Trade Centers, they said that one of the elevators, airtight, by the way, one of the elevators had a fireball come down it and burn people after one of the explosions. But again, this is an airtight security shaft. The 9/11 Commission said that was because of the aircrafts. But again, they've been disproven. architects from those buildings said there's no way a flame could travel from 90 stories up all the way down an airtight ventilation shaft down to the bottom floors and burn people. It had to have been some sort of explosion from inside of the building on the lower floors.
Yeah, S.A. Punk says he was a guy who was on one of the top floors and the building was going down.
I know exactly who you're talking about now, Jiz. Yeah, that shit's hard to listen to. I've heard it. Yeah. Like he was talking and then all you hear is the phone go dead.
All right, Lucas. See you soon.
Hey, later, Lucas.
Yeah, that's very chilling. But there is I don't know whether anybody knows this story. There was a dog, right? And I think it was one of the firefighter dogs. And I think he managed to save about 20 people during 9/11. And it's a true story. If you go and look at it, I think if you put the dog of 9/11 into Google or something like that, I think it will come up. I'll have a look while you're chatting away, Brian. Hold on a sec. It's a true story. I'm not taking the mic.
No, tell the story, man. I'm interested. I've never heard it. Throw it out there.
So, surviving 9/11 rescue dogs, they were used during 9/11 to save people from the buildings. They saved quite a few people. 12 people. So 12 people that I know. Okay, it's a small number, but it's still I think it's still something credible. It's still something credible to say about 9/11. They used proper dogs to save people, and I think that should be commended in some way. Hazy Days is here.
Hey there, boy. Good to see you there, Mr. Days. Mm-hmm.
But I still think it's somewhat 12 people is not many people, but it's 12 lives, and it doesn't matter what.
No, that's fucking awesome, dude. I've never heard that.
Yeah,
it's the first time I've ever heard that.
Yeah, that was.
Get that dog a doggy biscuit.
Well, I don't know if the dog's alive now because I'm not sure, but I mean, it was 12. How many years ago now? Was it? How many years? Man. About 17.
September 11th, 17 years, right?
17 years. The dog would have been about 5. A dog's average life is only about 14 years. So
yeah, he's probably not kicking anymore.
So Hazy put LOL. Livingston put Droopy Dog is here much more like the beanbag we carried.
Livingston, I don't know what the heck you're talking about half the time, but it sounds funny.
But okay, so we're digressing. We're digressing.
We're supposed to be at 9/11. We're talking about Droopy Dog. Hazy about that damn dog.
Hazy says the dog saved more lives than the U.S. government. Pretty much.
Yeah, Hazy, you missed a lot, dude. We've gone over a lot of smack. A lot of information, dude.
We've gone over from it being prior that they knew about the attacks. We've gone over 2 years before, 6 months before. The actual day, the flights to, I don't know, we haven't really covered the Pentagon much, I don't think, have we?
Yeah, a little bit, just about how there's a Phantom plane that hit the building, and the engine that they found on the lawn didn't belong to the plane, a 747.
Yeah.
We have eyewitnesses that said that it wasn't a jumbo jet, that it was a smaller, my opinion, I think it was a smaller plane with some sort of explosive.
Yeah.
That was either linked to it or was there in it.
Yeah.
It was there in it when it exploded. Again, the facts there just don't add up, man. I mean, again, it goes back to these guys. I don't see how these inexperienced terrorists that couldn't pass a routine flight exam in a 2-seater plane were able to circle Washington, D.C. You go watch the path of the plane. You have to be an experienced pilot to even try to pull that off, man. To try to pull it off.
Hazy, I mean, we can get you into the group chat if you want. You want to get If you're on Facebook right now, we can get you in on the group chat through my iPad. If you want to have a more in-depth discussion away from the chat, if you want to do it through live through the iPad, through Facebook, if you want. I mean, it's an open discussion, guys. It's just not tonight, mate. No, another time, obviously, Hazy. But there's a lot of different ways to look at all this, though. There's definitely, arguments for each side, I guess, for sure.
Yeah, man. And it goes back to, I've always said it, it's follow the money. The money points towards definite corruption. I mean, there's no way in my eyes that this is being told exactly the way that it happened. And I understand why. Imagine if our own government, the United States government, said, yeah, we lied about all this shit. The amount of distrust, I mean, the chaos that would ensue, the outrage. I mean, really, when you think about it, what they've done, Dick Cheney, George Bush, they should be brought up on war crimes. They went to Iraq.
It's like Tony
American
Blair.
Soldiers died. American, English, Canadian, soldiers died. They said that Saddam Hussein had WMDs and not a trickle of nuclear warheads has ever been found. It was a lie. Yeah. They lied. To go there, take over, push the agenda, get more oil, whatever reason it was. Yeah, exactly, Jiz.
Yeah.
It's perpetuating a cycle. Look at today, though. See how history repeats itself.
Well,
George Bush is in office.
Well, it's like...
The agenda was anti-Muslim.
Yeah.
Look at it now. We're back to anti-Muslim. Muslims are the enemy. Middle Easterns are the enemy. And at the end of the day, if you look at it in this country, most of the attacks... Hold on 1 second, brother. One moment. Hold on. My daughter just seen something and jumped all crazy. Okay, go sit down, Mom. Okay, go sit down. Sorry, guys. Go sit down.
We knew this was going to happen. Don't worry. We had
actually, we made it a good 45 minutes without it actually happening.
No, 56 minutes. We made it. 56.
Holy shit! That's a freaking world record. But long story short, what was I saying? I don't remember what I was saying. Oh, yeah. Iraq and bombs and stuff.
It's like Tony Blair. For example, Tony Blair was in with George Bush as well. And Tony Blair should have been up for war crimes as well.
Yeah. And what all these guys did, and look what's happening now with Donald Trump.
Yeah, Donald Trump.
Look what it's opened the door for. War again in the Middle East. Look what Israel just did. Shot missiles.
Did you
missiles.
Yeah, did you know, though, he's been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize.
Donald Trump?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, I'm not joking. It's like
really. Oh, my God. He wins the Nobel Peace Prize. We need to riot. That dude's a bigot. I live in the United States. I can tell you firsthand how much I dislike Donald Trump. He's lower than a bag of dog shit to me.
Yeah.
I never put my political views out before. Fuck Donald Trump. He's anti anything that's not rich. It's not just race. If you're not at his wealth level, he views you so much fart when Drippy comes in hate Trump.
I don't think Hazy kind of gets the torment you get, like when we do stuff like this, you don't get the torment. It's always like, can I talk to Mr. Korn? Mr. Korn?
Oh, yeah, man. My kids are fucking Mark Korn fan club, man. Shit. All day, every day. Mr. Korn. What's Mr. Korn doing? Korn.
You don't quite get it. This is like a mass record, like 55 minutes, I think it was. It was like a mass record. I think he's like kind of pleased not hearing my name. God,
well, shit, I'm locked in the closet, man. I'm hiding, bro. I gotta hide from my own kids.
well, you know what they say. You gotta come out of the closet sometime.
Trapped in the closet. What are you trying to say, Mark?
Well,
I'm a homosexual. I know homosexual, Mark.
Homosexual. A bit like the T-shirt, guys. Pick them up on the merchandise store. Pick them up. Fucking homosexual.
Homosexual.
Oh, it's a bit like some of the lines that come out with Amanda Hug and Kiss.
Jack Meathoff. There was more of them that Bart used to call in, dude. I can't remember, man. It's been so long.
You're better off having Mr. Bean as president or Colton Banks.
Trump, man. We got sidetracked. Yeah, man. I mean, you got to. This is why it's important that we learn the history. I'm a history major, and history repeats itself. All great nations, and I've told Mark this, you have about a 300-year life expectancy, and then eventually you fall. United States, we're getting close to the end of our time as being the number one dog, and all of these countries, Rome, regardless, they're either conquered or they fall from within. And you got to learn from that history. And we haven't learned because it's happening again today. The same anti-Muslim agenda that started in 2001 is restarted again with the travel ban. Now it's the war on Mexicans. They're fucking rapists and murderers, according to Donald Trump. And again, these people don't even know. I mean, this country, it was born and bred on immigrants.
Yeah, that's right.
Immigrants contribute to the economy. Right now, if you were to mass deport immigrants in this country, not just Mexican, because it would have to be everybody, this country would lose billions of dollars. We'd go into a recession. Small businesses would close. Big companies would be in trouble. McDonald's, Walmart. So at the end of the day, yeah, you're right, Hazy.
Yeah, if voting made a difference.
Voting doesn't make a difference. Our election shows you that. Our election was fucking rigged.
Yeah.
How do you lose by 3 million votes and you're still president of the United States? Why? Because of a fucking system, a flawed system called the Electoral College, which is made to where you can lose the popular vote, but if you win enough big states like Texas and New York and California, you don't win the popular vote. You can become president through a flawed system.
Yeah, it's not unusual to be a dick to Donald Trump. I was just about to sing that as well. That's quite funny.
Donald Trump is it's the lowest point in American history. When we look back in the history books, it's going to be an orange shit stain on our country and our past. It's embarrassing. It's sad when you have to tell your kids the president of the United States is a piece of shit. I'm not going to lie to them. 8-year-old's old enough to kind of know what's going on.
I mean, he's not.
She'll say, why doesn't he like brown people? He's a piece of shit.
I mean, he's not some role model, is he? He's not.
No, dude. I mean, this is a guy walking around grabbing chicks by the pussy. He doesn't get much lower than that, dude. Fucking porn stars, paying porn stars off on the side. Every day it's a new scandal. Where do you want to start with Donald Trump? From all the people he screwed through his bullshit casinos, the people that he never paid, to his university where he scammed all those people, telling them he's getting a real education. Then you get these dumbasses here in this country. Donald Trump, this fucker gonna pick out all the Americans and give us money. He ain't doing shit for you. You think he gives a shit about poor white people? Fuck no, he doesn't.
I mean, yeah, I think you'd agree to this, but on a side thing, like the only good thing that's really come out of the world today. And I know they're an ally to, Britain, they're an ally to America, which is North Korea and South Korea joining. They've finally put that feud behind them. That's the only good thing that's really come out of the talks really lately. That's the only good thing that's come out of talks. and I mean, Apex could be right.
Is it a good thing?
Apex could be.
You want to know what I think's happening?
Hold on, but Apex.
I'll tell you my opinion on what I think's happening.
Hold on. Apex could be right though. Apex could be right though. With Noah and all this, right? That Korea, it'll just be Korea. It won't be North and South. It'll just be Korea.
Wait! Didn't they? What did they do? Wait! I think we're gonna catch Apex and alive. I think didn't Noah say that Prince Henry and Meghan Markle weren't gonna get married?
Yeah, they're going.
He said that, didn't he?
Unless she's going to have cold feet in the morning of that wedding, believe me, it's going ahead.
So we're going to know if Noah's lying ass is lying. I mean, we already know he's lying. We all know it's fake. Come on now.
Yeah.
But we're going to actually have proof that he's full of shit because he said they weren't going to get married. I'm pretty sure he said that. I remember him saying that specifically.
Yeah. Hold on. We've got a few comments. I am Mr. Bean weighing over brimstone. Okay. For the chandelier here, okay.
Slow down, see ya.
SA Punk, just tell Billy Bob and Stone Cold Steve Austin to open a can of whoop ass to Mr. Trump's ass.
Well, he already did, didn't he? Didn't he already hit him with the Stone Cold Stutter? Yeah, he did.
Yeah, yeah. That's right.
Our president was officially a wrestler. He's a porn star by the name David Dennison. Oh man, that's embarrassing.
But anyway,
you gotta put your head down with that shit.
Let's digress onto. We were digressing. I think we just need to get back on top of the topic.
Good point.
But so we basically analyzed the first 2 years, the day of the event. I mean, on the day of the event, there's a lot of obviously conspiracy saying that most of the TV feeds were basically pre-recorded. Because there was one person, I've seen the video myself, and it shows one of the planes and the wing was kind of like chopped off and then suddenly it reappeared in midair.
It was the front of the plane. It was the nose of the plane.
No, there was also one for one of the wings as well.
I've never seen that. I've seen the one with the nose of the plane on the other side of the building. It's still intact.
Yeah. So there is some theory to maybe they could have pre-recorded the attacks. I don't know. Pre-recorded some CGI.
Yeah, I really think that some of that we saw on our TV screens was CGI. I think so. Again, I don't know for sure. I'm not an expert in the field, but I've seen conflicting reports. I've seen people pretty much. Okay, I was telling you about that guy that the only camera they allowed, or a helicopter they allowed, was the Fox News affiliate in New York. And that guy that was doing the camera work, he used to work for the CIA. I don't know his actual title, but he was part of the government. He used to work for the CIA, and he used to do videography, shit like that. Exactly that kind of stuff for the government. Yeah, where he had the technology and the know-how to do that from inside of that helicopter, and he fucked up. And that plane, the building, somehow he messed up. The front of the plane leaked out, and then he black screened the entire screen. If you go watch the footage, the plane goes through. You see the nose of the plane sticking out, and then you see the screen go black for like 5 seconds, and then come back. Which did make a lick of freaking sense. Again, it's been a while since I've seen that. I have to watch it again to give you.
I mean, some of the footage. I mean, if that was the case, even if it did happen, I mean, there's actually evidence for it happening. But anyway, it wasn't really noticeable. So the average person wouldn't have really noticed it straight away. It wasn't until like 10 years after, I think it was, that all this footage started coming up on YouTube that we all were like, that didn't make sense, you know.
Yeah, platforms like YouTube are George Bush and Dick Cheney's worst nightmare. I don't think they foresaw like platforms like this being so big where you could get on your computer phone and just look this stuff up. All that, and being the fact that it's recorded and now you can kind of dissect it years later, that's the worst enemy. Time is the worst enemy. Yeah. The longer that conspiracy theories keep popping up, the more heat's going to be on them. Again, I don't think they're ever going to be prosecuted. It's never going to be reopened.
Well, I mean, if we went back to the theory of some people saying there was never a plane hit the towers. Okay, if we go back to that a second. Now, if there was never a plane or any planes hit the towers, which is what some people say and what some people stick to, if that was the case, the people that had died, where are they now? You know, if they died, how did they die? You know, you got to look at it from every angle. Where are they? You know, if they're alive,
they say the people inside of the plane.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want my theory or what I've heard is that these are made-up characters. Is it possible? Yeah, definitely. I mean, you could definitely make up fake people, fake characters. I can't think of an instance. Think about it, Mark. Have you ever seen an interview with anybody's family of somebody that was on the plane?
Yeah, hold on a second.
I can't remember.
Hold on a second. Steve's going.
At least to my knowledge, any of those people that have died on the planes, family members doing interviews.
Yeah, hold on a second.
That's very rare. You only hear about the big people. What about all the other passengers? All you hear about is Mark Bingham.
Yeah.
The one flight attendant. The one senator's wife that was on the plane. You don't hear about the other people.
Yeah.
You don't hear about the other people. I mean, could they have been put into hiding? Yeah, it's possible. My guess, again, this is a guess, is that I think that there's something from the outside did hit those buildings. Do I think it was 747 jumbo jets?
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot of evidence that
Brian, hold on.
Suggests that it isn't.
Hold on, I've got to cut you a second. Steve's going. So Steve says,
Later, Steve.
Well, guys, this has been very interesting. Thanks. My eyes are closing. I'll watch the replay tomorrow. Bye, guys. So thanks for joining, Steve. I mean, I was trying to interrupt Brian there. You know, he is enthusiastic about it, and I think it's a really good discussion to have. And I think having that enthusiasm, you know, should be seen in everyone, especially if it is a cover-up, for sure. I mean, if you feel passionate about something, never let it drop. That's what I say anyway. But yeah, Steve, thanks for joining, and I'll let Brian carry on with what he was saying. He's gonna go.
Yeah,
I
there,
forgot.
boy, Steve. Think about Marky in the shower, there, boy. Yeah, buddy. Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway.
Back to the planes hitting the buildings. Okay. Back to the front of that plane. So let's say by some miracle that there wasn't. I mean, there had to have been some sort of camera work there. Yeah. Even if there's not like a main screen, maybe there has to be. Because the front of those planes are made of fiberglass, man. They've had birds hit the front of planes, like 747s.
Yeah.
And the planes have almost crashed because the birds have penetrated the front of the aircraft, the front of the plane. Yeah. So you can't tell me that there's no way in hell the front of that plane could have survived intact going through that building at that speed with those explosions. So it goes back to, man, there's something fishy there. There's evidence. When you have so many things contradicting the original story that we're told, it tells you that you're not being told the truth.
No, that's right.
I think we're at that point now that we can almost unanimously say we're not being told the truth. What is the truth? We'll never know. We can all speculate. We all have our guesses. But I can guarantee you that there's some form of cover-up, dude. I just don't see any way, shape, or form that what we're being told is the actual truth. Again, we'll never know. They're not going to tell us.
Oh,
they told us that would be the end of the democratic government as we know it.
In basically everything, there's going to be a conspiracy, especially with this anyway. Because let's go on to how there was explosions. The explosions in the buildings are heard by many people. A lot of people who run emergency services. There was reports of explosions rather than the plane aspect. You know, there could be that the planes hit it and basically they were told to demolish it, but there could be that aspect. There could be. You never know.
Yeah. I mean, anybody that, again, go look up controlled demolition 9/11.
Yeah.
Almost anybody that does controlled demolition unanimously agrees. They're near 100% sure that controlled explosives were used. Now, how did they do that? I've heard stories from the gentleman, the security, head of maintenance. I'm sorry. He's the head of maintenance. That late at night, 2-3 months before 9/11, one of the floors, they were doing maintenance on one of the floors, and he witnessed guys bringing in what looked like possible wires. You know, like those big, I don't know how do you.
It's basically.
You ever seen a lawn hose?
Yeah, it's
that's rolled up.
Yeah, basically the wires on a spindle, like a big rolling spindle.
That they were bringing stuff in, and even the maintenance guy, wasn't authorized to go on those floors. I have heard that. I don't know how true that is, but I've heard that from somewhere.
Yeah, S.A. Punk.
That it's possible.
So S.A. Punk has said the plane could have set off a chain of reactions to the explosions in the building, or something like that. That's
possible, but you don't even need that to do controlled demolition. If you have the thermate, which cuts through steel like butter, all you have to do is press a button. Boom, 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 boom. They have that shit trigger activated. Where those floors, they set them off one after another, after another, after another. Again, those buildings fell at free fall speed.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not possible. It's not possible for that building to fall in 10 seconds. Where's resistance? The bottom 60 or 70 floors weren't impacted. So what should have happened? If there was going to be a collapse, the top of the building should have fell over, but the bottom should have stayed intact.
Yeah. I mean, this may seem naive of me to say, but you know, you're saying free falling speed. Now, this may be naive, and I may be just a tad bit tired tonight. But if people were up on the higher level, right, on the top of the building, in my mind, and it may be stupid, but there we go. Here we are.
No, it's never stupid.
I would have thought that you could have actually survived being at the top. And I know it sounds stupid because obviously you've got the resistance going, you've got the free fall going down, not the resistance. And you've got the flying speed. But in some way, I thought you could have actually survived that in some way, if you know what I mean. I don't know.
Yeah, you're saying if you're like on the 80th or 90th floor.
Yeah.
Is it possible? Probably very, very, very unlikely. But if there wasn't explosives used, yeah, I mean, if the bottom floors collapse first and you're on the top and the top of the building didn't,
because
totally implode, yeah, you could possibly survive. There's people that survived down on the bottom floors when the explosion happened. A lady and a bunch of firefighters survived in one of the stairwells. Well, it didn't completely destroy one of the buildings.
I was more thinking like the pancake effect, because if there's something underneath, it's just going to build up and up and up. It's not going to crush down in a way. I just think of it like a pancake effect. I may be being stupid, but
even with the pancake effect, there has to be resistance. I'll give you an example. You can drop a penny from the top of the building down to the ground, and the building collapsed at the same speed as if you dropped a penny in the air next to the building. See how I'm saying there's no resistance? It fell in 10 seconds. Right. That building with resistance, it should have taken a lot longer, because you got to realize, even if the building's pancaking, some of the stories are going to hold up and
that's right,
the free fall. And that didn't happen. The whole entire building was pulverized into fucking dust. Not even big metal pieces and big chunks of concrete. The stuff that we saw was the stuff that the thermite and the explosives didn't get to. Almost the entire building was dust. People were turned into dust.
Yeah. It still brings into mind, because it's going to be, all these buildings are going to be built similar, right?
And dude, we're not in a third world country. This is the United States of America. These buildings are made to specifications that you can't get away with it if it's not done right.
Yeah, whether it be the States, whether it be here. Okay, these buildings are all built the same. And all I'm saying is, like, we had a fire in Grenfell. There was that fire. We've actually gone over this, but I think it still needs to be reaffirmed that we had the fire in Grenfell. That hasn't collapsed. Okay, it's still there. And the one in Spain, did you say it was burning for like 24 hours?
24 hours.
Did that collapse in the end? I can't remember.
Nope.
So that didn't collapse. A lot
of it burned off, but the steel frame, the most important thing, forget the concrete, forget the walls, forget the floors, the steel frame was still standing.
Yeah, still standing. And that's the point.
At a higher temperature than the World Trade Center.
Yeah, and that's the point we're making here. And I wanted to reaffirm that, because all the buildings are made near enough the same, made of the same stuff, basically. And how two buildings from two different locations are standing, whereas the World Trade Center's three buildings, basically the 1 and 2 and the third building, they collapsed.
Never hit.
The third building, which they never hit, and Livingston's going off on a funny one in the chat. And we just need to reaffirm that point that these buildings are in two separate locations. The World Trade Centers went down in basically similar circumstances.
Yeah. Now, you want my smoking gun, which really set off my brain to go, you know what? We're being lied to. The smoking gun, to me, forget the planes that hit the buildings. Right. It's Building 7. Building 7, to me, is a smoking gun. How did that building collapse from simple office fires? No plane hit it. They actually have on recordings firefighters saying they're going to pull the building.
Yeah.
And demolition terms, that means you're going to blow the building up. That's what the demolition experts use to say, hey, look, we're going to blow the building up before they blow it up. Also, check this out, Mark, when you're done.
Yeah.
Before Building 7 collapsed on CNN and other news outlets, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, I don't know how much time exactly, they reported the building collapsed.
Yeah, I remember. I remember.
Guess what's still standing behind their shoulders? Building 7 in the screen. So they're saying the building collapsed and it's still standing right behind them.
Yeah, SA Punk is put in a nutshell. The government had some part of, not all to do with the events that happened that day, and then not telling the American people and the people across the world the truth.
Either. It's the French, it's the English, it's the Canadians. The world community knows. Your countries know. England knows.
You need it kicked into Porky Pig then. But that's why I was trying to reaffirm the point about separate buildings in different countries, how they've effectively been through the same kind of torture. And two buildings stand and 3 collapse. One of them never got hit. So
3 in 1 day, which has never happened before and never happened since. What are the chances of that?
But let's go on to the point of the jet fires. I mean, I know you've got some information on that, and
the jet fuel, it burned off within a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Of the plane's impact. Again, it's not me. I've done the research. There's scientists have studied it. How hot? What's the highest temperature that those fires could have burned? It couldn't melt steel, even if, again, it made the steel expand or move. Yeah. And the building collapsed. The whole building couldn't have collapsed because of that. It's just not possible. It's not scientifically possible.
Yeah.
Again, that fire that you're talking about, I guarantee you, I don't know for a fact, but I can almost guarantee you, the one in Grenfell Tower, and I know for a fact the one in Spain, they burned thousands of degrees hotter, and the buildings didn't collapse. The 9/11 Commission says it was a combination of the plane impact and the jet fuel burning. But it's not possible. There's people alive. I was telling you about the lady. Her name, it's blanking me right now. I could look it up.
Yeah, but I was more...
They have a picture of her alive, a story or 2 down from where the plane impacted. People were still alive. So if that jet fuel's burning that hot to melt steel, wouldn't it melt through people?
Yeah.
How are people still alive?
But I'm more aiming towards, let's talk about, the jet fighters that were supposedly scrambled so late.
Oh, got you.
We were talking about how when the first aircraft hit the first building, do correct me, but I think there was one that was like 200 miles away. The plane hit.
Yeah, they sent the fucking aircrafts fucking all the way up to Canada. They have bases near, Washington, D.C. where they have fighter jets. They can scramble them up in the air, ready to take down a commercial flight within 10 minutes.
Yeah.
They sent the planes to South Carolina on a training mission that day.
Yeah, that's right.
They were running drills that day. NORAD was running drills, terrorist drills that day, on the same day of 9/11. What a fucking coincidence.
Chris is back. Chris is back. Hey, Chris.
What's up, Chris? Good to hear you, Chris.
We're still on topic of 9/11, and I think...
I mean, you tell me, Mark, what do you think? I mean, why do you think they didn't scramble not even one jet to intercept any of the 4 planes?
Somebody tell this guy to shut up. So, anyway,
Chris is just mad because he wasn't invited into the conversation because all he wanted to talk about was dicks. That's all I love doing. If you want to talk about dicks, you got to wait till tomorrow, or wait until you go to Frank's Fuck Shack tonight, where you're 2 for 1 dicks.
We do have a 24-hour live stream tomorrow, which is going to be broadcast here.
Oh, Mark, don't do it, man. You know what Chris is going to do?
Yeah, watch me sleep again.
24 hours to look at you sleeping, dude. He's going to be shooting off knobs all night, dude.
But anyway, on your question, I need to get on this topic. Basically, I think it's really convoluted. Something about it that doesn't seem right to me, because what is he on about? Go fuck yourself, Brian.
Go fuck yourself.
It just seems weird that they didn't know how to deal with it. They didn't know how to deal. And by the time the first plane hit the first building, the scrambler was like 200 miles away in the other direction. And then when the second one hit, they knew there was going to be a second one. They knew, right? So having that information, they knew there was going to be one, but yet they sent it in the other direction again. And by the time it hit, it was 50 miles out. So they weren't prepared in any way, shape, or form to deal with that kind of thing. They weren't prepared at all.
Is it because they weren't prepared, or they purposely weren't prepared?
Yeah, like were they covering it? We don't know. We don't know.
I mean, that right there is another smoking gun. It's like, if you can send fighter jets to professional golfers, fucking personal Cessna airplane in the middle of Kansas or Colorado or wherever the fuck they were, here in the middle part of the United States, you're telling me you don't have the manpower, the planes to defend the nation's capital and the nation's biggest city in New York City, with monuments that terrorists are going to try to attack?
Yeah.
Buildings that they already tried to take down with explosives just 7 or 8 years before? Come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on. We're not stupid.
For some reason, Livingston has just slip away with the gecko thing, right? And for some reason, him just saying that has just made me think of the Geico ad. Geico car insurance.
Is that what he was talking about? Because, no offense, Livingston, I don't have the faintest clue what the heck you're talking about half the time. I'm not going to lie to you.
Well, Chris has gone quiet, which is, very suspicious of Chris. Chris goes quiet.
Nah, you know what he's doing. It's not suspicious. He's up there late night with, little KY Lou. He's zooming in on you, Mark, getting ready for his next shot, man.
Oh. But, yeah, so we've hit on near enough every aspect of it. Now, what are you laughing at now? What are you laughing at now?
Just laughing at your reaction, like, all right.
Yeah, this fucking guy. So, really, all we need to really speak about now is the aftermath, really. SA Punk says, Billy Bob, Shag Bam, as well as Frank Duck Suck. Okay. Chris says, fuck off, you Gim. SA Punk says, awaits. Livingston's put, I've been running around with the whirlwind. Okay.
Okay.
Squiggly line. Okay. But now, really,
what the hell are you talking about, Livingston?
I don't know, but
where do you come up with this stuff? I'm weird. I can admit it. And Livingston, you're on another planet, bro. You sure you're not an alien, bro?
It's one of the Greys. It's one of the Greys. But
yeah, that's what it is.
Come at me when you're a man enough to grow a beard, you soppy pervert.
Is he talking to you?
Hey, Chris, are you talking to Brian or are you talking to me?
I've got a beard, so I'm thinking he's talking to you.
Yeah, probably. I've done
I don't know. I mean, Mark, I've already told you. Oh, you're talking to me. Oh, okay. I'm a soppy pervert. Yet you're the one at 2 for 1 dick nights at Frank's Fuck Shack. It's not my fault, man, that you're a community cum dumpster. It has nothing to do with me. Nothing to do with me.
Bring down the glory hole.
Call that a beer.
But I think we need to look at aspects of like the aftermath now. I think we've kind of, I don't know whether you've got any more points you want to add.
Well, I mean, the aftermath is Afghanistan, Iraq, the war on Muslims. I mean, we feel the effects today, man. To this day, right now in this country, the view of minorities is so bad. And okay, let's just all calm down, please. Okay. We've been calm. This is the calmest I've ever been on your live chat, Mark.
Yeah,
you know what happens when I'm serious? This is what happens.
I mean, I think the point I'm going to make on the whole Muslim thing, I think a lot of Muslims get blamed and are tiered with this label, calling them a terrorist when they're not. I mean, I live down a road with many Muslim families and very nice families, and I don't see them. And Chris, what you've just put, Brian sounds like an American weatherman. Oh, here we have the sun. Oh, here it's going to rain. But no, the point is like, I live down the street with many Muslim families, many ethnics, and I wouldn't be in fear of them. I wouldn't even label them with that kind of tarnished paint, so to speak, because you cannot blame a whole minority or religion or whatever.
Exactly.
You cannot blame a whole religion just for a few wrong-uns that have read the Quran wrong. Who have got a warped ideology of the Quran. Because in the Quran, if you read it, and I've read a few chapters myself, it's obviously converted to English, it says that a Muslim looks after their fellow brother. You know, you're not going out to kill people. That's not how it works. And I think Muslims are being given that wrong label, and it's also rubbing off on other people who are black, for example. I know I should use the word colored, I guess. Or even if you're half...
stay away from that word.
Even if you're half caste, right? Even if you're half caste, you're whether you're colored or you're half caste, that's the way I'm going to put it, you're tarnished with the same brush because people assume you're Muslim just because of the color of your skin. And then you're tarnished.
Right, you can be Hindu.
Yeah.
And they think you're Muslim and you're a terrorist. Stupid.
Mr. S.A. Punk, I've been harassed like that many times being a Muslim. You're right, guys. Livingston put, I'm the weatherman that can blink my eyes wet.
Okay.
Okay, Chris has put, all religions are a load of bollocks. Yeah, yep.
Just not Jehovah, Chris. Don't talk bad about my Jehovah, motherfucker. I'll take your $9.95 and shove it up your poop chute, fucker. Leave Jehovah out of this, fucker.
He says, just live your fucking life and fuck all that shit. Yeah, basically, everybody.
Whoa, that's a hell of a PSA from Chris. Public service announcement from Christopher Locke. Just live your fucking life and fuck all that shit. Did you know?
Well, I mean, it's true, right? What he's saying is
no, he's
true.
Right.
I mean, no matter who you are, no matter what color you are, it doesn't matter if you're a fucking Smurf, right? You're a human being, right? Am I right? You could be fucking Elmo. You could be Elmo. It wouldn't matter, you know. As long as you're a human being, you should be treated as such. Just because some people have got a warped ideology, even of let's look away from Muslims a second. Let's look at the British Christianity. You know, exactly. Just take a look at
Mark. I'm trying to be professional here. Chris isn't letting me. He's talking shit. My finger's itching.
Oh, that's like you did.
I'm twitching, man. I'm twitching.
Yeah, did you hear what I said? Did you hear what I said?
No, cut out.
I went just like your dick. You went, my fingers are itching. I went, yeah, just like your dick. Like that.
Itching like my dick?
Yeah.
I mean, I got a dick itch? Yeah. That's a first. Dick itch. Yeah.
But let's look at the Muslims or whatever. Let's look at the British ideology. It's true that people
try to be serious, man.
The old pubic hair beard is twitching. Oh God.
Oh Lord. Well, better than the one you have on your face, Chris, where you shaved all your ass hairs on the bottom of your chin.
I mean, there's always someone trying not to make us look professional. This should have been. I tell you what, this should have been a podcast. This should have been like a free downloadable podcast. Maybe I can do that afterwards, but like rip the audio from the track anyway. But it doesn't matter whether you look at the Quran or you look at the Bible, right? There's always going to be somebody that has a warped ideology of that book, right? That doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter whether you're Muslim or you're British. Each book is near enough the same, but if somebody gets a warped ideology of it, then they're going to try and push that on people. And it's, for example, like some people still think that black people should be segregated, for example. No, it's true. It's true. It's true.
It's fucking terrible.
But you know why the Bible was made? You know why religion was actually made? It was to segregate the masses into communities. That's why you've got all different churches. Whether you're here in Britain, you've got like you've obviously got the Muslim temples or whatever, Hindu temples. You've got the British churches. You've got the black British churches. You know, and it's all about segregation in a way. If people believe that, you know. So, or put what have I missed? Livingston's put. I got nothing to do with Droopy because I'm the weatherman and I'm being slippery pissed. Okay. Laura says, what have I missed? Not a lot. Or a warped penis like bro. No, Chris, you've dick on the brain and most likely in your mouth at the moment. I wish you gay fucker.
How many licks does it take for Chris to get out of the glory hole? The world may never know.
Oh, caramel. Oh, I bet I'm going to wind this up now. I'm going to wind this up now. Oh, I bet he gets a squiggly line in his eye with a pubic hair. So S.A. Punk.
Oh boy, Chris is used to having lines shut in his face from the glory hole. He likes the 4-dick frenzy. 1 dick in each hole, shooting at him all at one time. He likes to play Star Wars and lick the lightsaber, oh boy.
Yeah, so S.A. Punk, Catholicism, yes, Christianity, Islam, Hinduism. I would go and name them all, but I think it'd save time and just say, well, yeah, we are all the same. Doesn't matter where you come from. And the one thing I always say is that no matter who you are, no matter where you are in life, we all take the same path, okay? Your path may be like bumpy, smooth, whatever. But in the end, we're all going the same way. So we all should be treated exactly the same, no matter where you come from, no matter what you look like, no matter what. Nothing. You should all be treated the same. And that's what we do here. We treat everybody the same. You could be weird. You could be normal. You know, we accept everybody. So, and that's the way life should be. A man has a penis, a woman has a fanny. Let's just get on with it. You know, human beings that should respect each other. That's right, S.A. Punk. What have you just put? Nah, not my fault. You work at Frank's Fuck Shack. Just stop taking the 4-dick frenzy challenge, Chris. Fucking hell. He takes a chicken wing challenge. How many can he shove up his anus?
Oh man, this is too crazy, dude.
Have you checked on the kids? Have you checked on the kids to make sure they're
they're sleeping. They knocked out. 2 of them knocked out. The biggest one is playing video games.
Oh, that's all right. Listen to that little gimp laughing to himself. Listen to that little gimp laughing to himself. Fucking hell.
You see, I'm a gimp, but Chris, you're limp. That's why you're mad. You probably haven't seen your penis rise in 10 years.
But I think we've covered most aspects on what we were supposed to today. I don't think there's any
way we trying to. Then Chris's ass jumps on here with all the dick talk. We don't want to hear that shit. I mean, if you want to talk dicks, go to Frank's Fuck Shack and talk to some of your clientele, man.
Well, so for the last 20 minutes, so guys, if you've watched up to this point, after the live stream, this is just going to be all whatever. It could be Brian doing voices. It could be anything at this point. So for the next 20 minutes, if you want to miss this point, you can just switch the video off. Other than that,
don't tell them boys turn that damn video off, boy.
Other than that, you can listen to this funny shit. Because we've gone over everything for the last hour and 40 minutes.
Brian, Mark, just trying to be serious here, you pillow biter. Fuck you, Chris, you dumb son of a bitch. You trying to be serious? You're on here talking about your fascination with dicks, boy. We don't give a damn about your fascination, boy. We know your occupation is that you are a world-class cum dumpster. That is not our problem, boy.
But I do want to
keep that shit to yourself, boy.
But I do want to thank everybody who came up to the hour and 40 minutes. Really appreciate that, guys. I think the whole conversation went quite well, and we had a few people joining in. So I want to thank you guys for doing that. So now it's just basically the shenanigans, and Laura says I can hear you from the living room.
I got some shenanigans to play there on the Chrissy pool. He got a problem with that boy O'Brien. That boy O'Brien get his big old foot shoving up his damn ass, boy.
Yeah. It was very good, Mark. Well, you got Brian to kind of thank for most of this. We've just gelled together, so I think.
Thank God, I'll say that there, boy. You deserve all that credit there, boy. Mm-hmm. You got the channel. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And them fluffies. Mm-hmm.
He says, nah, fuck you.
I like them fluffies. Mm-hmm.
He says, nah, fuck you.
Fuck you, Chris, you piece of shit. You talking shit about the Brian, you fucking with the Mario. I'm gonna get the Goomba, shove it straight up your bumper shoot, you guzzler. Fuck you.
All right, Laura. I'll
oh, good night, Laura. Hope you feel better. Woohoo.
I think Mark and Brian with fart. Okay.
The fuck are you talking about, the Livingston Trana? You don't make no sense. I mean, goddamn it, I'm a midget, goddamn Italian plumber, but I cannot understand you. What the hell?
Stunner and Fucker from Stone Cold and Billy Bob to Trump, and thanks to Brian for this one.
Okay, I got you. Okay, I know what you wanted me to do. You want me to do it in Stone Cold, boys. I try. What? Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass, boy. Fuck you, Donald Trump. Hell yeah. I try. It's not my best voice. I'd rather do a Mario. A Mario or a Griselda. Griselda is a lot of fun because I can push the word of Jehovah with the word of a Marco Corn. Hey, Marco Corn, how are you doing there, buddy?
That was down the sofa.
What, bottle of water?
Yes.
I
think I got Marco Corn in trouble. With the word of Jehovah, I wake everybody up.
No, Laura's just found a bottle of water down the side of the sofa. And Chris says, hey, babe. Chris, remember that
Chris, not everybody.
Chris,
and it's not the glory hole taking a dicks.
Hold on, Chris, I got you in trouble last time, remember? Hey, babe.
What happened last time there, boy? How'd he get in trouble?
When Maya was on the phone, do you remember?
Oh, yeah, when Chris was trying to creep on that little girl. Yeah, I seen that, boy. It's nasty shit, man. Pedophile Chris.
Oh, no bad.
Couldn't keep his little wiener in his pants. Mm-hmm. Sitting there trying to procreate with a little girl, man. You some nasty motherfucker. Sitting there telling that little girl, how you doing there, baby?
That was funny though.
Oh shit.
Guys, I tell you, we don't have some
fail there, boy. Epic fail there, Mr. Chris. That's what you get for talking all that shit. Think you're some big badass like Jason Statham. That's what he looked like, guys, by the way. If you don't know what Chris looked like.
It was terrible.
Yeah, Jason Statham wannabe.
It was terrible. It was.
Yeah, that's some embarrassing shit there, boy. I'll leave it be.
But guys, we're going to go for another 15 minutes. We're going to get to the 2-hour mark, which is 12 my time and Chris's time. Brian, I don't know what, 6 o'clock your time. So,
man, you know I don't sleep. I stay up all night anyways. Play that PUBG that we got to get on, Mark Horn.
Yeah, I'm not.
A lot of fun.
I'm not going to be playing tonight. That's for sure. But
get your slimy ass on that game, boy. We got to kill some people, boy. Got to get you out of that silver status, boy.
Oh, Chris has just been playing that.
On his beautiful Xbox One, thinks he's better than everybody. With that controller, he likes to use to play games, and then at night he rides it like a dildo.
Well, guys,
yeah, proper format.
I do want to encroach on something. Actually, I've got an itchy leg, Jose.
Yeah, scratch that itch, boy. That's delicious, boy.
Some of you might have seen my personal Facebook, and I'm not going to say what we're going to do with the domain name or anything. And I don't know what is re-sparked my short circuit fucking fandom at the moment. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it. What itching you? I'm not itching you. I was itching my leg.
Holy goddamn hell, boy. That's a legible sentence. That's the first sentence I think Livingston's ever put out that I could understand.
But I actually, do you know what? I was so surprised that I was going on eBay trying to find short circuit stuff. And I found, and I actually looked up to make sure this was real because it was part of the Movie Props Association. And I found a storyboard from Short Circuit 2 confirmed with a certificate of authenticity. It was amazing. Like, and they've got other parts of the storyboard available as well. It was absolutely amazing. I actually bought, obviously, the domain name shortcircuit3.co.uk. But I'm not going to let anybody slip what that is. Me and Brian have spoke about what's going to happen with that. So it will be interesting. Certainly a load of nostalgia. And hopefully we can get something going with it. You know, something will come out of it anyway. But I just wanted to say that. I know I went off on a tangent, but I think, you know, the people that are watching now, I'm sure we can do something with it. I don't know what it is. Just relighted my flame with that film. I don't know. I don't get it. I think we were just talking about it, weren't we, Brian? We were just talking about how I was trying to come up with a third version.
Yeah, better than that third version them boys are trying to put out. That the robot had a son, became a gangbanger.
Yeah. Oh, guys, I can't remember do you remember the bloke's name? I can't. Tim something. Anyway, the one that done the album.
I don't know, man.
The one that done the album and the Chipmunk movies. He said that he was gonna. He swore that he was gonna make Short Circuit 3. He swore he was gonna do it, and his script kind of
Tim Burton,
no, not Tim Burton. It was bollocks. No, it wasn't.
I'll look it up, boy. Hold on. Let me look it up.
But anyway, he swore to make a Short Circuit 3, and when his script got leaked, basically, and it was basically along the lines of that Johnny Five has a son. His son there gets mixed up with a load of gang members, and they were trying to get him to do nasty things, blah, blah, blah. And then he realizes they weren't really friends after all, and they lived happily ever after. And I think that would have killed the franchise. I really do. I think if that was released, it would have killed. It wouldn't have even made a Short Circuit 4. That's for sure.
Yeah, the director sounds like his name. The director says John Badham.
Yeah, that's for the Short Circuit ones. Look up the ones for the Alvin and Chipmunks. That's the one that was going to make. That was.
To make the third one.
Yeah, to make the third one.
All right, director Chris Fucks the Glory Hole. I mean, Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Oh God. Brian has
if you type that in, Chris Fucks the Glory Hole, pictures of Chris pops up on kind with like dildos and kind.
He said, hold on.
Tim Hill.
Tim Hill, that's
Hank Hill's brother. Oh, dang it, Bobby.
God damn it.
Tim Hill.
That's so propane. Oh, God damn it. Johnny 5 doesn't belong in a world with the T-800 and RoboCop. He does. Do you know what? He could kick ass. I'm telling you. We're not having this debate. 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 I'm not having that. Anyway, he says
RoboCop.
Brian has a
RoboCop.
he says Brian has a short something.
That soppy thing wouldn't last 2 seconds. Okay.
Acorn and Corny have feelings about fart. Feelings about fart.
I think he's saying you got like feelings in your boom boom area there, boy. That Livingston Tran boy, I don't know what you're saying. You know how to write a logical sentence. We seen one a minute ago. Then you come back with something about corns and farts. Okay.
For God's sake.
And Chris comes back with more dick jokes. Always dick on the brain, man.
Yeah,
I would hate to be in your dreams, man. That must be a dick fest. Dick everywhere. Dick.
Oh, instead of Stu Griffin, he's got squiggly line on his brain.
No, he's got squiggly lines coming off his chin.
Oh, I couldn't resist that. I really couldn't resist that.
Yeah, that's your top line there, boy. Squiggly line, boy.
Oh, squiggly line in my eye. God's sake.
You see what happens when we try to go regular, boy. All these people, they don't understand we're like normal folk.
Well, they don't realize.
Talking about crazy shit all the time.
Yeah, I know Chris is just booked for fuck's sake. Don't worry, I'm just sat here and for fuck's sake, Mark, shut up. With that one line. That one line.
That one line's golden, boy.
It's a squiggly line. It's a good line, isn't it? Lois and the Fat Man.
Yeah, Mr. Jens just sent the video of Donald Trump taking the Stone Cold Stunner. That's the president of the United States, boy. That motherfucker took a stunner good.
Mark Korn is the kneecap fart princess. Okay.
Yep. Look at that.
Brian would love a bit of RoboCop.
I think that Christopher Locke has sucked off RoboCop.
Yeah.
Got that robot and had some of that elbow grease hit him right in the face there, boy. RoboCop came in with his buddy down at Frank's Fuck Shack and gave Chris some Robo Dick.
Oh, he likes to be oiled up.
Christopher Locke liked that Robo Dick. Mm-hmm. He liked that Robo Dick to rotate in his butthole. Mm-hmm. Shoot out that oil that comes out. What do you call that? Carburetor oil. All over his
S.A. Punk. Obviously, he's just sent you that video. You just said of Donald Trump.
Yeah, Trump deserved that stunner, boy. He got his ass beat, boy. He done shaved Vince McMahon's head too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, we're not having this conversation which robot's better, and you know Johnny 5 will just kick ass, so I'm not having that. RoboCop.
Well, what in the hell is a hypnotism fart, Livingston Tran? Explain yourself there, boy. The fuck is a hypnotism fart? A fart that makes you go hypnotized.
It just reminds me of something like SpongeBob. F is for friends. U is for you and me.
The fuck is a Fleshlight Pro? A penis with a light on it?
Oh,
You're the Port Authority, Christopher, on RoboDick, so you would know. Does it have a flashlight coming out the top?
Chris has got a flash. What it is, it's a penile. I'm sure you know what it is. It's like a keyring style masturbator. Like
something he sticks in his butthole for pleasure and stuff.
No, it's like a keyring vagina, basically.
Oh wow, yeah. Okay, sounds like a lot of fun there, Chris. Aren't you married, boy? Don't you got enough of that stuff, boy? Why you got a keyring dildo thingamajiggy with yourself? Your wife's gonna whip your ass, boy. Why are you sitting there on that thing old YouTube talking to that English chap and that damn Mexican? Go sleep. You gotta go to work, boy.
She's probably like sitting there going, "If you don't shut up in a minute, I'm going to cut off your testicles and shove them right up your arse." Basically.
Well, see, that wouldn't be a punishment for Chris. He liked that kind of stuff. Probably likes tickle and tick his buttonhole, you know what I mean?
Okay, so we're hypnotized. We're finding out what hypnotized fart is. Fart that comes out of Mark's fatness, then blows away the shrink flat balloon.
What the bloody hell are you talking about, Livingston? I don't understand you, boy. Where do you come up with this English, boy? Are you using a translator or something, man? Because I don't understand that, boy.
If you guys know...
Fart that come out of Mark Corn's fatness, then blow away shrink flat balloon. How did that happen? The gas makes the balloon deflate? I don't know.
Guys, if you notice, look, my hair is fucking receding. My fucking hair is receding. I've just noticed that. Fucking hell.
What, Mark Corn, what?
Fatness fart. What the fuck is... What the fuck is going down here?
Bunch of weird people all in one spot, Mark Corn. You can't put this many weird people on one chat. A fatness fart. Oh boy, a fatness fart. Sounds good. Sounds delicious.
Hey, have you seen Miss Piggy?
Shut up, Mark Corn! I don't want to do this voice right now! Love you, Kirby.
I don't love you. You're there with Droopy Dog.
Oh boy, yeah, that's my piggy, you son of a bitch. You stay away, you little green bastard, before I whip you with my beanbag.
Hey, you little drooly little shit. It's my pig.
Oh, is this your pig? Well, how about you listen to this? Get over here, baby. Bend over for Droopy. Oh, Mr. Droopy! You're gonna stick it up my butthole? Oh, yeah, baby. I'm gonna penetrate. Listen to this, you green bastard. Oh, you're so big! I'm done. And pop goes the weasel, you green bastard. I just impregnated your fat pig blood. What do you gotta say now, bastard? No words? Nothing to say? Come on, buddy. Talking all that shit, I'll slap the green off your ass. You should have loved me better. You should have loved me better, Kirby.
That must be
now,
big.
This is my dog. You get out of my life. Love you, Kirby.
Well, at least you can have bacon with a side of dog.
Oh, yeah, I just had me some bacon. I just handed that bacon. I busted on top of the bacon. Now I'm going to go out to the 7-Eleven and get me a pack of cigarettes.
I'm going to drip my maple syrup all over your face.
Better shut up, you green bastard. Don't make me come over there and slap you with my cattle penis.
Oh, you droopy. I've lost my words. I completely
I have no idea what you just said, buddy. Get the dick out of your mouth. Put it to the side. Speak legible English.
That's what your mom said.
Look at Chris trying to play off like he's straight. It's getting too gay in here for me. Off to bed. Gotta go back to the fuck shack, buddy.
Yeah, in the glory hole.
Oh. Too gay when he's been talking about dicks this whole time.
Anyway, we're getting up to the 2-hour mark in a minute anyway. I want to thank.
It's about that time for Chris to go lick the beanbag anyway.
But I want to thank. Shut up, Droopy. I want to thank everybody. I want to thank everybody for coming along. Brian, especially, thank you for your input on the live stream. Obviously, with all your history knowledge, it's much appreciated. Everybody, thanks in the chat, and thanks for everybody inputting. Everything. I think we've done well today. I think. Yeah, thank you, Brian. He said. Did you get that? Brian broke Messenger.
No, I heard. I don't like talking to Chris. He's got gay problems, so I don't take things he says very, very what's the word I'm looking for? I don't take them at face value. He's talking shit, most likely.
So, guys, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button, and don't forget to dislike if you didn't like the video. Hit the bell icon to receive every video instruction I upload. Don't forget to subscribe with notifications on. And we will see you tomorrow. Don't forget, 24-hour live stream starting from around 5 p.m. GMT. And you get to watch me sleep. So what can you say more than that? So thanks, SA Punk, for liking the video. Thanks, guys. We're going to go. See you later. Signing off. Are you going to say bye, Brian?
Oh, everybody have a good night. And don't forget to lick the beanbag. Fuck you, Chris, you piece of shit. Talking all that smacker. I'm going to come down there and fuck you, skull. Fuck you. Woohoo!
See you later, guys. We're signing off. I'll see you later. If it's